Have you ever felt like life has singled you out? Like it keeps testing you in ways that feel impossible to overcome? Maybe you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into a dream, only to watch it crumble right before your eyes. And when you look around, it seems like everyone else is succeeding, while you're left asking yourself one painful question. Why me? Why is it always me? But what if I told you something? What if I told you that the worst thing happening to you right now might be setting you up for the greatest comeback of your life? Would you believe me? Today's story is about Rajiv, a man who hit rock bottom in every way possible. He lost everything: his money, his confidence, and even himself. But what happened next? That's what you need to hear, because his story could easily be your story. Rajiv was the kind of person we all admire: ambitious, hardworking, and determined. He had spent years building his dream, a business he poured his soul into. His day started before the sun came up, and his nights ended when the rest of the world was asleep. This wasn't just work for him. It was his passion, his identity, his purpose. For years, everything went smoothly. His business was thriving, and he felt unstoppable. But then, life threw its first storm. A global financial crisis swept through, and suddenly, everything he had worked for started falling apart. One by one, his clients began pulling out. His biggest investor backed away. The bills started piling up faster than he could manage. Rajiv, the man who once seemed to have it all, now found himself staring at his bank balance, and it was almost empty. He tried to stay strong. "This is just a phase," he told himself. "I'll get through it. I always do." But things only got worse. His closest friends, who once praised his success, stopped answering his calls. Even his family began questioning his decisions. "Maybe business just isn't for you," they said. "Why don't you quit while you still can?" But Rajiv couldn't quit. How could he? This wasn't just a job. It was his dream. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Rajiv tried everything: new strategies, loans, partnerships, but nothing worked. It felt like life was determined to push him to the edge. One evening, after another failed attempt to save his company, Rajiv walked home through the rain. He passed by a restaurant where people were laughing, celebrating, enjoying life. And then he looked at himself. His clothes were soaked. His shoulders were slumped. His eyes were heavy with exhaustion. He couldn't help but wonder, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? That night, he sat alone in his dark apartment, staring at the ceiling. The silence was deafening, and for the first time in his life, he thought about giving up. Just when Rajiv thought his story was over, something unexpected happened. One night, his phone buzzed. It was an old client he hadn't spoken to in years. "Rajiv, I know things haven't been easy for you lately," the client said. "But I have a small project, and I thought of you. Are you interested in?" Rajiv hesitated. The project was small, insignificant really, and after everything he'd been through, he wasn't sure if he had it in him to try again. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered, "What if this is the start of something new?" With nothing left to lose, he said yes. The project was simple, but Rajiv treated it like it was the most important work of his life. He poured his heart into every detail, delivering more than what was expected, and something remarkable happened. The client was impressed. So impressed that they recommended Rajiv to others. Slowly, word began to spread about his dedication and work ethic. At first, the projects were small, but each one brought new opportunities, new connections, and a new sense of purpose. For the first time in months, Rajiv felt a glimmer of hope. Months turned into years, and Rajiv found himself in a completely different place. He wasn't the same man who had lost everything. He was stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Looking back, he realized something profound. If my business hadn't failed, I would have never discovered my true potential. I would have never met the people who helped me grow. I would have never learned the lessons that made me who I am today. One day, as he sat in his new office, a smaller, simpler space, he couldn't help but smile, because now he understood. Sometimes, life has to break you, so it can rebuild you into something stronger. Had he not lost everything, he would have never found the right path. And that brings me to you. Maybe you're going through your own storm right now. Maybe life feels unfair. Maybe you're looking around, seeing everyone else move forward, while you're stuck in the same place, wondering if things will ever get better. Maybe you've worked hard for something, a dream, a relationship, a career, only to watch it slip away right before your eyes. And the worst part? It feels like no one understands. No one truly sees how much you're struggling. Late at night, when the world is asleep, you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering, why me? Why does life keep testing me? Will I ever make it out of this? If that sounds like you, then listen to me carefully. You are not alone. Life has a way of breaking us down, It pushes us to our limits, making us question everything we believe in. It throws obstacles in our path, making success seem impossible. And just when we think we can't take any more, it tests us again. But here's what I want you to remember. What feels like the end today might just be the beginning of something beautiful. Think about it. Every great story, every great success, every person who has ever achieved something incredible has one thing in common. They went through struggles that nearly broke them. They failed. They doubted themselves. They felt lost. They questioned if they were strong enough, but they kept going. And that's what makes all the difference. Right now, you might feel like you're standing in the middle of the storm. The winds are howling. The rain is pouring. You can't see what's ahead, and it feels like you'll never make it through. But what if I told you that this storm isn't here to destroy you? What if I told you that this storm is shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you? Because just like Rajiv, you will rise again. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you'll look back at this moment and realize that it was all part of the journey, that the pain, the failures, the doubts, they weren't signs that you were meant to quit. They were signs that you were meant to grow. Because sometimes life has to break you so it can rebuild you into something stronger. So don't give up. Don't let this moment define your entire story. You still have chapters left to write. You still have victories waiting for you. You still have dreams that deserve to be fought for. And when you finally make it, when you finally step into the person you were always meant to be, you'll look back at this moment and smile. Because you'll know that every hardship, every tear, every sleepless night, it was all worth it. So if this story touched your heart, if it gave you even a little bit of hope, then do me a favor. I want to hear your story, because someone out there might need to read it. So comment down below and let's build a community where we lift each other up, because at the end of the day, we're all fighting battles that no one else can see. And sometimes, all we need is a reminder that we're not alone.